In this Autodesk Fusion tutorial, I'm going to show you how to go about making a laser cut lamp stand for an E26 light socket and bulb. This is a workflow that you'll use often when you have an existing object in the real world. You can make a model of it and then model around it inside Autodesk Fusion. This will be a laser cut stand and it will have captive nuts so you can attach a shade to it later. It also has a shade ring that will help hold the socket into the lamp stand. I've inserted a 3D model of the lamp socket and the bulb into Fusion. I'm working in the hybrid design mode, and I'm going to right click and make a new component. I'll call this component laser cut stand base, and I'll press OK. I'll construct an offset plane, and I'll select the origin plane so I have a good reference. Then I'll look to the side, and I'll move this plane straight up. I'll zoom in so I can move the plane to where it needs to go, and it looks like it needs to be 152.1. Now it's resting on this lamp socket. Press OK. I'll create a sketch on this offset plane. I've already measured this lamp stand. I know the middle of it is 40 millimeters, so I can press C for a center diameter circle, and then expand out and type 41. Then press C again, center diameter circle, and type 120. Before extruding, I want to add some user parameters. Change parameters. And here I've already added some user parameters of thin ply and thick ply. So I have some 3 millimeter and 6 millimeter material. You can change these to whatever you have available, and you can even make them all the same. That's up to you. Then press E, and I'll type thin ply. It makes a new body, and I'll press OK. I'll select the top level component and make new component. I'll call this laser cut stand middle. I'll create a sketch right on top of the base. Press P to project, and I can just project in that whole face, and then press E. I'll select that profile, and I'll type thin ply. I could have used a rectangular pattern, but then all the instances would have been identical, and I want them to be unique. One more time, right-click, New Component. For this component, we'll call it Laser Cut Stand Top. Press OK. We'll create a sketch right on top of the middle. Press P, project in this part here. Press OK. E for extrude. Click this profile, and once again, thin ply. Now we need to draw some legs. Right-click the top-level component, New Component, Laser Cut Stand Leg. Create a sketch on one of the vertical planes. Then press P to project. I want to get each part of this. So I have all three layers. I probably want to get one of the shade ring edges. And then I want to know where this is just for reference. Press OK. Then press R for the rectangle tool. I'll draw a rectangle here in the middle. Then I'll draw a rectangle at the top, and then one at the bottom. We can make these two pieces collinear. Then press D, and I want to keep this 5 millimeters away from the shade ring, so 5. I want to keep this 5 millimeters away from the edge. Press 5. Then these two pieces can be half of that distance away. So I'll click here and here. And then I'll start at the 5, and I'll say divided by 2. In fact, this dimension here should really be linked to this one. Then press D, and I can go from here to here, and then click this dimension. One more collinear constraint will keep this in line. So this will be sandwiched in between these plexiglass or plywood layers, so the leg can't pop out. Now let's go ahead and draw the leg piece. I can zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to draw at an angle like this, then down, then at an angle, and then back up to this piece. I'll make sure all these are perpendicular to each other. And then I can stretch this out a little bit just to kind of see what I want, but it's a little bit hard to move at an angle. So I'll add some helper lines. Press L, click here, draw straight down, click, draw straight over, and click. Select Create, Arc, 3-point arc. We want a nice rounded arc here. Make sure both sides are tangent. Then use the vertical constraint to keep this point right above this point. And then use the tangent constraint to make it tangent to this line. Press Escape. We want to click this line, press X, make it a construction line. Click this line, press X, make it a construction line. Press this line, X, make it a construction line. Then come on up here and press X, make it a construction line. Let's connect these two pieces with arcs. Create, Arc, 3-point arc. Click this point, and then this point, and this point. We want to make sure the arcs are tangent, so use tangent, and click the arcs and make them tangent to these vertical lines here. and tangent to this one. It looks like I have an extra line. Sometimes that happens in Fusion. So if that happens to you, I'll click this line, delete it, then click this point and make it coincident with this point. Then I'll make this arc tangent here. So now we're pretty close to being able to define everything. We need to give this an angle, press D, click this line and this line. And I think 60 or 65 is a nice angle. So I'll type 65. And then we need to give it a height. Press D. I'll click this line and this line and give it a height of 120. And then I need to give this an angle or a height. So you can see how this can still move around. So we need to fully define this. Just kind of put it to where you think would look interesting. I think approximately here would be nice. Then press D and pick one of these points and a point up here and give it a height. I'm going to give it a nice even height of 9. And now our sketch should be fully constrained. We want to click these profiles. If you click and hold, you can click through. Make sure you have them all selected. For the direction, select symmetric. The distance will be thick ply divided by 2. Now we can create a pattern. Activate the top level component. Select pattern. Make sure it's circular pattern. Then the objects will be components. This component, the axis will be the z-axis. And then say OK. Now we're going to add some bolts, but before we do that, we want to use the combine action to separate these. Click combine. The target body will be this top layer. The tool bodies will be all of these legs. And we want to keep the tools. Make sure this is checked. Press OK. Make another combine. Select the middle layer this time. Select all of the legs. Keep the tools. And one final combine. Select the lower layer. Select the legs. And press OK. So now we have slots for these to go into. And the legs can't fall out because of that middle section. We need to make bases for bolts and captive nuts to keep everything held together. Activate the laser cut stand base component. That's the lowest one. Orbit around to the bottom. Then we can create a sketch on the bottom of this component. I want the captive nuts and bolts to be opposite of where the legs are. So I'll move down here. I'll press P to project. I want to get the outside edge of the laser cut stand base. And I also want to get where the shade ring is. So I'm going to orbit to the top. And I want to get the outside edge of the shade ring because I don't want the bolts to interfere with that. Then I'll orbit back around and look at the sketch from the bottom. Sometimes it can be a little confusing with everything there. So I'll just hide these so I can see a little bit better. Press R for the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw 2 rectangles. An M3 square nut is 5.5 millimeters, so I can either do 5.6 for a really tight fit or 5.7 for a little bit looser fit. Then I can draw another rectangle. This is also 5.7 by 5.7. With the line tool, I can draw from the midpoints of these now squares, and then draw from the bottom of this one to the edge, and then from the edge to this one. I want all of those lines to be vertical, so click the horizontal vertical constraint, make them horizontal and vertical. Press Escape to get the select tool, then click each of the lines, press X to make them construction lines. And then finally, we want everything to be in line with the origin. So click horizontal vertical, click the origin, then click one of these points. We have a few more things to do to fully constrain this sketch. We want to make these construction lines here equal. And then you could make this equal here or make it a bit longer. So let's see what it looks like with equal. I think that's okay spacing, but I think I'm going to remove that and make it a little bit bigger here. So if I click this equal constraint, I can delete it, then press D, and I'll put in a hard-coded dimension here. Let's say 8. I think that looks pretty good. I think I could even go up to 10 millimeters. So I'm going to go with 10 millimeters there. Then I'll finish my sketch. I can bring the body back so I can see it. Then press E. I'll select this profile and this profile. The distance will be negative thin ply. The operation will be cut. And then since we have multiple components, it's always a good idea to check objects to cut. We're only going through one and press OK. Next, I need to create a sketch for the hole for the M3 bolt to go through. So select Create Sketch. I can create it on the bottom or the top. Press P to project. Project in the squares that you did for the captive M3 square nut. Press OK. Press L for the line tool and draw diagonal lines. Press Escape. Select both of these lines. Press X to make them construction lines. Then press C. Draw from the midpoint. It's an M3 bolt, so we want it a bit bigger than 3 millimeters, so 3.2. Press C, select this one, 3.2. Press E to extrude, then click this profile, In this profile, for the distance, you can either type thin ply times 3 or go to object. I think I'll type thin ply times 3. And since it's going up, we need to change that to a negative direction. And since I have this one not visible, I want to make sure I can see that one. And then notice how it adds it to objects to cut. So now it's going to cut through both of those. Press OK. Now I can make a circular pattern for those two features. Then activate the top level component. We need to activate the top level component because although this extrude is in the laser cut stand base, since this extrude goes through multiple components, it's at the top level component. Create pattern, circular pattern, make sure it says features. Then I can select this feature and this feature. The axis will be the z-axis. And then you can see that they move around opposite of the legs. And then I can press OK. Now I have all of the pieces cut out, so I can put a socket head screw through the top here, and then I can have a nut on the bottom. Now we have a laser cut lamp stand that we can bolt parts to and hold together. And since the legs are all captive inside there, they won't fall out. So this should be a really nice piece that can then be adapted to many different forms. We want something to be modular, so then we can change where the bolt patterns are or how it attaches, so we can have different shades and different nice aesthetic features. Hopefully this allows you to create a laser cut lamp stand for an E26 socket and bulb. Happy 3D modeling!